So here's what everyone's talking about right now. Has Bitcoin already peaked? Now, here's the interesting thing. Out of all the analysts I follow, only one has actually come out and said, yep, Bitcoin has topped. Just one. But today, another really popular analyst did put out a warning about Bitcoin. Now, they didn't go all in on calling the top, but they did say, hey, this could be possible. And you know what? I'm a bit skeptical myself, but I'm not going to dismiss it completely. It could happen. But here's the exciting part. Even if Bitcoin has topped, there's absolutely no reason to think we won't see an absolutely insane, face-melting rally for XRP. Because here's what happens at the end of every single market cycle. Altcoins go into that euphoric alt season. And I'm going to show you exactly why there's every reason to believe that's still coming. I've got perspectives from several different XRP chart analysts to share with you in this video. One is calling for $15. Another says the next leg up for XRP is going to be fast. We've got so much to cover. And honestly, there are so many reasons to be optimistic right now. Here's my question for you. Even if Bitcoin has some negative price action, why should we be fearful? Let me ask you this directly. Are you here to get rich from Bitcoin, or are you here to get rich from XRP and altcoins? I'm willing to bet that pretty much 100% of you are going to say altcoins and XRP, not Bitcoin, right? The reality is the opportunity to make ridiculous, life-changing wealth from Bitcoin in a relatively short time, those days are long gone. Let's think about this for a second. If you buy a whole Bitcoin right now and it goes to $1 million, sure, that could be life-changing for some people. But how long would that take? A decade? Maybe more? Now compare that to XRP. You could see a 10x return in XRP in very short order during a hot market. We're talking a matter of weeks. Now, I'm not making promises here. Let me be crystal clear about this. I don't do price predictions. That's not my thing. But what I do believe is that overall, XRP is going to go way higher over the long haul.
Right now, XRP is sitting at $2.88, and Bitcoin is at $114,466. If you've been paying attention over the last couple of days, you've probably noticed the market has recovered a bit. We're back above $3.8 trillion market cap for the entire crypto asset class. That's pretty solid. Now, let me show you this post from the blockchain backer. This came out yesterday evening, and it's generated a ton of discussion about Bitcoin potentially topping here. This is actually one of the analysts I mentioned at the beginning of the video. And let me tell you something. I think the blockchain backer is one of the best chart analysts in the entire crypto space. He's got a very well-deserved, massive following. My advice? Don't fade this guy. Seriously. And I'm going to tell you why in just a second. First, let me show you what he wrote. He's looking at a Bitcoin/USD chart here. And underneath the main Bitcoin price chart at the top, you've got three different metrics: the relative strength index, the MACD, and the stochastic RSI. Here's what he said. On the weekly time frame, Bitcoin has created bearish divergences on the relative strength index and MACD. Also, the MACD already crossed with the divergence. The stochastic RSI has already fallen. Now, this was actually a warning sign of the top for Bitcoin back in 2021. And let me tell you something really important here. Usually, when I look at the majority perspective from all the chart analysts I follow, whatever most of them agree on, that's almost always what happens. Why? Because I follow what I genuinely believe are some incredibly talented chart analysts with amazing track records. So when I see most of them agreeing on something, it usually plays out exactly like they say. That's been my experience anyway. But here's the thing. Not always. Let me tell you a story from last market cycle. The blockchain backer predicted that Bitcoin would likely peak around $70,000. And when it hit that level, he basically said, yep, that's it. I'm out. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but that was essentially his call.
And you know what happened? He got so much grief for saying that. In fact, there were a few chart analysts who I completely lost respect for because of how they treated him. They weren't just disagreeing with his perspective, which would have been totally fine. I'm all for thoughtful civil discourse. Disagree respectfully? Absolutely, go for it.
But these people were being complete jackasses to the blockchain backer. And I remember thinking, wow, I don't like you anymore. That's just really crappy behavior. And here's what's so funny, and I hope incredibly satisfying for the blockchain backer. Even though he had the minority opinion and everybody thought he was wrong, he was right. Sometimes the minority opinion is the correct one. So if these really are indicators we should be watching, if we really should start feeling concerned, I'm just saying, he had a minority opinion several years ago, and he nailed it. So he could absolutely be right here too. Now, I'll be honest with you. I don't see other analysts, outside of that one I mentioned earlier, warning that the top for Bitcoin is in or sharing posts like this. But that doesn't automatically mean he's wrong. And here's the good news. Even if the top for Bitcoin is in, and I'm not saying I'm convinced, but I definitely take his post seriously, it's probably not going to change things for the vast majority of you watching this. Why? Because we're here to make life-changing money from investing in altcoins like XRP, which we should absolutely still expect to run. Now, I will say this. If Bitcoin has actually topped, I find it kind of strange that Bitcoin dominance is only down to 58.84% as I'm recording this, because historically, as dominance cascades down, the price can still go up, and it always does. So how high would it go? Are we really not going to see that parabolic rally? We'll see, folks. I'm really hoping we will. I'm counting on it, honestly. But I always admit, I don't know for sure. I'm on this ride right along with you guys.
And again, I'm not in the prediction game, except to say that if you just keep holding for a long period of time, you end up winning. That's pretty obvious. The same is true for the stock market. So in that sense, I'm extremely optimistic for the long haul. But if you're talking about right now, in this exact moment, we're just going to find out together. Now, this fund focuses on stuff that's already well established, so you'd expect lower returns compared to early stage investments, but also way less chance of everything going to zero. That's the approach he takes. It's basically a basket of various investments, and he's super optimistic that Bitcoin isn't done yet.
So take this for what it's worth. He said, wake up. The bull market in Bitcoin hasn't even started yet. It's the same price in gold terms as 5 years ago. There's a massive cup and handle pattern leading to new upside price discovery. The 4% short rates are too high. USD is bearish now. DC regulations are winding back. We've got digital asset treasuries, ETFs, stablecoins, DEFI, real-world assets, etc. This is a new world. So there you have it. Another person out there, and this is a fund manager we're talking about, who believes we're going higher first. And historically, there's precedent for exactly that. When gold eventually gets toppy, what usually happens? Risk-on assets like stocks and crypto absolutely rampage. So based on history, you'd think Bitcoin could definitely go higher. We'll find out. But again, my main point is this. Don't be scared either way, because in the end, it really doesn't matter that much. Yes, I'd prefer Bitcoin to go way higher. Of course I would, but it's not going to determine my success. Here's the reality. Almost 100% of my crypto portfolio is not in Bitcoin. Now, yes, Bitcoin is one of my larger positions because I've been holding it since 2017, sure. But as a percentage of my overall portfolio, I'm way more interested in everything else, without a doubt. Now check out this post from Income Sharks. He said that in all of Bitcoin's history, if it closed September green, it's had a double-digit month in October. Actually, that's not quite true. Let me show you the real data here. He was almost correct, though. If you go back to 2012, Bitcoin was up that year, but October was actually red. However, and this is what's more important, if you look at every single instance where there's been a green September for Bitcoin, and that's rare, by the way, most Septembers are absolutely terrible for Bitcoin. Look at what happened after every green September. You had a completely baller fourth quarter. Do you see this? Yeah, even in 2012, fine. October was down. But what about November and December? They absolutely rampaged, didn't they? Look at all the other green Septembers. 2015, 2016. Green Q4, green Q4. Jump up to 2023. Same thing. Green Q4, then 2024, which was last year. Same pattern. Overall, green Q4. Yeah, we were slightly down in December, but look how much we rampaged higher in October and November. I mean, November alone was up 37.4%. And so now here we are in another instance. And this actually shows market strength, frankly, where Bitcoin, and fine, we've got another day, it could drop, whatever. But at least as I'm recording this, Bitcoin for the month of September is up 5.69%. So if history rhymes with itself, Q4 for Bitcoin specifically should be absolutely ridiculous. And that's really the only reason it matters at all. Now, there's this from chart analyst analyst Mikey Bull Crypto, Bitcoin/USD chart here. And I'm highlighting this as an example because this is the type of thing I keep seeing from analysts. Now, I'm not saying I'm 100% convinced that his expectation of $200,000 Bitcoin is correct, but every other analyst I follow believes that Bitcoin goes way higher before we top. And I really hope those analysts are right. Usually the majority is correct, and the outlier positions are usually wrong. But again, look who the outlier is. When the blockchain backer is sounding alarm bells, I'm going to pay attention. I'm just saying. So anyway, Mikey says here, Bitcoin will top above $200,000 as indicated by these metrics. I don't see the possibility of topping this time around. Technically impossible. So clearly he doesn't think Bitcoin has topped. He says, look at this chart and tell me why the cycle peak should happen now. Well, I mean, the blockchain backer gave a couple of good reasons why it could be. So we'll see. But Mikey is not convinced, and this is the majority opinion. We're going to find out together, folks. But I will say this, he's very optimistic for XRP. So let's talk about XRP for the rest of the video. How does that sound? XRP/USD chart is on the screen here. Mikey Bull Crypto says XRP to $5 to $15. For the first time since 2017, it flipped green on the quarterly chart and already broken above the resistance, similar to what it did in 2017. And this is why I keep saying I'm not going to worry too much about what happens with Bitcoin. Yes, I hope it goes higher, but look at XRP. Oh my God, it's so well positioned. It's still going to melt faces. We are not done here. Of course, there's going to be an alt season. It's not done. As far as I'm concerned, that's virtually a certainty here. Let me give you another reason why. This is from CoinMarketCap, and I actually highlighted this about a month and a half ago. This is CoinMarketCap's website showing crypto market cycle indicators. They highlight 30 different indicators. That's what you're seeing on your screen right now. These are crypto market cycle top indicators. And then in the far right column, they note whether or not these indicators have been triggered for this market cycle. Now, out of all 30 of them, how many have been triggered? 0. Literally 0. So as these start to get triggered, that should give you some concern that we're really getting close to the end of the market cycle, the entire crypto market cycle. But it's not happening, unless you think this time is different and none of this matters. But those are typically famous last words, right? This time is different. I am not concerned. I'm extremely excited for the future. We're not done, folks. So again, even if Bitcoin has topped, well, just look at this data. It's virtually a certainty. We are not done, my friends, for the rest of the market. Here's a post from Crypto Wizard. This is about Total 3, which includes XRP, of course. He says, 1,688 days of sideways price action in Total 3 will soon come to an end. Of course, he's talking in terms of days. 1,688 days. He continues, as many capitulate, it's on the cusp of an explosive breakout. All alts need is a breakout. And I think it's coming. I've seen tons of analysts pointing out various chart formations, basically saying, yeah, this thing's about to go. We're just teetering on that edge right now. So many things are teetering on the edge. That's why I keep talking about macro confluence. You can look at gold, you can look at Total 2, you can look at Total 3, you can look at the Russell 2000, and you should frankly, because there's correlation there. We're right on the edge. Now in theory, it's possible everything could crater down, but I'm not counting on it, folks. I just don't think we're done yet. And look at global liquidity. That should drag the market cap of the entire crypto asset class much higher than it is right now before we finally top. Here's another post from Crypto Wizard, XRP/USD on the screen here. He says, breakout quarter, 3 days to go. He posted this yesterday and he's including that day as one of the 3 because XRP will soon close its 4th 3-month candle above the highest 3-month candlestick close of its prior cycle. So another analyst noting serious strength right here, which is why I'll say yet again, and yes, I know I sound like a broken record. Even if Bitcoin has topped, it doesn't matter in the end. Not for this cycle. XRP and alts are still going way, way, way higher. Here's a post from chart analyst Doms from this morning. XRP update. He says, so far, bulls have defended the low of the liquidation cascade. I pointed this out to be a very important level, coinciding with the XRP/USD oil range high. Losing this level spikes the probability of some type of top being in, as it's a large step back structurally. As of now, the bounce is nice, but we need to be wary of a rejection until $3.03 is regained. That breaks the multi-month downtrend along with the all-time high we want. So there's a crucial level here, but just to be clear, despite all the volatility, including the negative volatility for part of last week, that didn't break anything chart-wise on a higher time frame. I don't follow any chart analysts who have even argued that, frankly. I follow some who have warned, yeah, it's possible XRP could go lower in the short term, but that doesn't break anything on the higher time frames. And part of what he's saying aligns with something I say all the time. You're either positioned when it happens or you're not, right? The point being, A hot alt season like that, that is how you get rich investing in crypto. It's amazing. There has never been an investment opportunity in the history of our species like what crypto offers. Pretty amazing stuff. Now you can see what he's highlighting on this chart. Keep in mind, these lines he drew go back to July when XRP hit its new all-time high at $3.65. He's noting that the trading range for XRP has been narrowing, which is totally normal before you finally see a breakout. And if we're in a bull market, when it finally has another big move, do you think it's going to be to the upside or the downside? Well, I won't say we can't go lower first, that's certainly possible. But if you're talking about the next really big move, yeah, I'd bet it's going to be to the upside. We are not done here. Then there's this from Crypto Insight UK. This is an XRP/ETH chart, and it's looking pretty good, all things considered. There's a little push for XRP against ETH here, and the trend could continue. We could see the weekly close above the 0.00071 line we've been monitoring. Not confirmed yet, but if the XRP gods are watching, we'll know the weekly RSI looks insane. So even on this chart, XRP is looking very well positioned, and I've said for a long time that XRP has obviously outperformed ETH in this market cycle. Now, there was a period, roughly the last 6 months or so, where ETH was doing well and outperforming XRP, but that was easy to predict, and I did predict it. Why? Because on the ETH/USD chart, my God, talk about oversold. ETH dropped to like $1,400. Yeah, it had to play some catch up. The market got ETH into an oversold position, so that strength meant XRP would fall against ETH for a bit. But it doesn't matter. XRP is going to continue ripping ETH to shreds performance-wise for the remainder of this cycle overall. Here's a post from chart analyst Ali Martinez. Support is holding. XRP could bounce to $3 or even $3.15. And that would put you into that zone chart analyst Doms was talking about, where once you get there, you can breathe a little bit easier. It becomes a lot less likely that XRP would drop further from there. But remember, the entire asset class moves in tandem. Here's a post from Chart Nerd. He says, XRP's resilience should not be undermined. I keep saying stuff like that. Yes, it's shown ridiculous strength ever since the election in November of last year, and he continues. Floating above $2.50 is hinting at bullish continuation. Analytical targets of $8, then $15, and $27 are waiting above. Patience. So he has consistently high conviction that we're going to see those price levels for XRP before this market cycle is over. And I don't think those price targets are crazy. I don't know if we're going to hit all of them. It's a pretty broad range. Maybe we land somewhere in the middle. I don't know. I never pretend to know, and I'm always upfront about that. But I do believe this is not crazy. And I do believe that the price of XRP is going to go way, way, way higher before this thing finally peaks this market cycle. XRP is consolidating below the previous all-time high, just like back in April 2017. We keep trying for the green line until we break out. Everything else is just noise. So he obviously agrees that the best is yet ahead. It's just a matter of time. Then there's this post from chart analyst Crypto. For the sake of time, I'm not going to read the whole thing, though it is on the screen. So if you want to pause and read it all, feel free. But there are a couple parts I definitely wanted to highlight. He wrote at the beginning, "My long-term view on XRP hasn't changed, so do not start crying in the comments section, you little bitches." It's important to understand the context of each post and the time frame I'm discussing. So again, I follow zero chart analysts who think something has negatively shifted for XRP big picture. Zero. And these are chart analysts who accurately called XRP breaking out this market cycle when it wasn't popular to predict stuff like that. They were right. It absolutely happened. Now, he does warn that it's possible XRP could go lower, but even if that happens, which he's not promising will happen, he still believes XRP is absolutely going to rocket to the upside. And he's been very clear that he really believes we're going to see double-digit price action for XRP this market cycle. So he wrapped up his post by stating the following: "What I'm expecting, I anticipate a drop to $2.65. I'll note that this is from this morning, and the market had been moving up since yesterday or maybe even 2 days ago. I can't remember exactly, but it doesn't matter. The point is, the market had been moving up, and even so, he's warning it could still go lower first. He says, I anticipate a drop to $2.65. If that holds with confirming price action, we might have found the bottom. However, I'm really looking for a dip to $2.30 to $2.40 before we start our final leg up." So in his opinion, that would actually show strength and presumably wash out some of those weak hands out there. Regardless, I just don't know how you couldn't be excited as an XRP holder. It just doesn't make any sense to not be ridiculously excited here. We're going way higher before this market peaks. You can absolutely be a regular person like me and get life-changing wealth in crypto. It's very simple, and this is why I don't have anything to sell you. I have no course to sell you. I'm just telling you what I genuinely believe. You just invest. You have broad exposure in the crypto asset class, focusing primarily on large caps, finding coins that offer actual utility. And then you just hold for a long time, whatever that takes, whatever that means. And because the crypto asset class has consistently grown over 16 years, you get life-changing wealth. Here's the thing, even now, there's not that much money in crypto. $3.8 trillion. That's the market cap for the entire crypto asset class. Just $3.8 trillion. In the future, it's going to be tens of trillions, and then eventually over 100 trillion. You're early, folks. If you're here in 2025 listening to this, you are early, but you have to be patient, and that's a requirement, not a suggestion. But how could you not be excited? You just need to understand that you are early. Even if you're brand new to crypto, you're so freaking early. A 16-year-old asset class? Yeah, I'd say you're at the beginning, folks. You're at the beginning. And XRP is a very obvious, very clear early winner in the crypto space. You don't have to wonder if XRP is going to make it. It already has. Unless there's some weird fundamental shift that we couldn't see coming, I think it's very obvious. There's no reason to think that XRP is suddenly going to lose its utility, its actual use cases, or all the genuine interest in the ecosystem around it. There's no logical reason to believe that. It is an early winner of the crypto space, and it's so cool because most people don't know that yet. Way less than 1% of humans have ever owned a single XRP at any point in their lives. So yeah, if you're talking about XRP specifically, you're way, way, way early. You're early to crypto in general, but XRP specifically, even though it's a large cap, if you agree with the general idea that XRP makes sense and will continue to be a winner, you've come to that conclusion before almost every other human on the planet. That's why there's opportunity for this upside. You just have to hold, because that's what's required. It's true in the stock market, and it's true in crypto. You just get way more impressive gains in crypto. I mean, the gains that I've gotten in crypto, and I've been here almost a full 8 years at this point, would have taken me something like 40 or 45 years to achieve in the stock market. Think about that. And that's before we have the altcoin blow off top. Maybe by the time that's done, I'll sit there thinking, whatever I gained by the time this is done, and I've been holding crypto for about 8 years, I could have achieved in roughly 8 years what would have taken like 80 years in the stock market. Pretty wild, right? I mean, I could achieve, because what if the price doubles for my alts and stuff? Just overall for my portfolio, I'm sitting here thinking, this could be completely, it's already absurd, frankly, that I've gotten like 40 or 45 years of growth in stock market terms in less than 8 years. That's already wild. But to know that it can just rampage way beyond that, and I know that's reality, that really could happen here. Look, there's nothing special about me. Literally, all I did after I bought was nothing. I bought stuff, and then I did nothing. And that's how you get wealthy. You absolutely can do this, and I think that's such an empowering message. It's true. This is reality. And the reason it's possible is because there's so little money in the crypto asset class. It doesn't take much money flowing in to get an asset to double, triple, quadruple, and so on in terms of price. But if you're investing in a large cap stock, or even Bitcoin, which is the largest crypto by market cap, yeah, it takes a lot more money flowing in just to get it to double. And that's why the stock market doubles on average something like every 7 to 10 years. And that's actually great. You can still get very wealthy just by responsibly investing over several decades until you reach retirement age. But what's happening in crypto, it just dwarfs that. There's no reason I think that's going to change anytime soon. This is going to get way bigger before it goes lower, or before this market cycle ends, but it's going to go way higher before we drop down. And yes, there will be a cycle peak.